Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Pekin Freeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS Telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. Embarking on an 8-round romp around North America's and the world's most challenging tarmac, we once again shine the spotlight on some of the best LMP2 and GT3 drivers from around the world. 2 weeks removed from Watkins Glen and its iconic blue Armco, we start a run down the East Coast until the end of this season. Round number 6, it takes us to the place Paul Newman called Heaven on Earth, 17-turn, 3.27-mile Virginia International Raceway. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth as always is Larry Lefty McLeod, and we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski bringing you all the best views of tonight's action. Well, Larry, hello and welcome to Virginia International Raceway, beautiful Danville, Virginia, or Alton, Virginia, I guess, depending on what side of the circuit you're on.
Or North Carolina, if you're a little bit off the track site, about 100 yards.
I was going to say, you run into the Dan River, you end up in North Carolina, exactly. So, we're in the home stretch now, and and dare I say it, the championships for each of our three categories, LMP2, GT3 Pro, and GT3 AM, they're all really still up in the air here. And we had originally planned this event to be a 2 40-minute sprints separating out the LMP2s and the GT3 cars, but the powers that be decided to bring them all together here for tonight's race. What are you looking for?
Well, I'm glad they did that. I think I do love multi-class racing, and I know we would have had the multi-class anyway with the Pro and the AM, but now we've got the Pro, the AM, and the LMP2s, and I'm looking forward to seeing how fast these LMP2s can get around and some of these GT3 cars, and what's going to happen as they come through the series of the S's. Can they make passes or not? But really, I'm looking forward, as we always do, who can survive, who can keep their car on the track, coming down through Hog Pen, going up those, going down through South Bend, who can keep it under control and have a chance to be there in the end for a podium finish and score some good points.
Yeah, now as opposed to Watkins Glen, the VIR obviously much more narrow than our last outing, our last venue. And, certainly the GT3 drivers, they're going to have to keep their eye on the mirrors at certain points, especially going up through the S's. This section of track right here, as we're watching Travis Schwenke and the Orion entry here coming up, not the place where if I was driving a GT3 car, I'd want one of the LMP2 entries to try and pass me.
I'm not sure the LMP2 drivers want to be behind the GT3 there either. It's just kind of mutual, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you probably wouldn't see them, pop out until Schwenke goes off over at Oak Tree there and onto the very
Beautiful
long
drift.
Yeah, it was very nice there. But you can see there, got a great view how long that back straight is, and certainly a great opportunity there. Not only for the LMP2 cars to get around the GT3 entries, but also for our GT3 drivers to effect passes going into the top of the roller coaster up at turn 14. But tell you what, Larry, without further ado, why don't we do something we do every single week here, every single round here in the World Challenge? We turn things over to Kevin Ford, and he's going to give us tonight's track guide of Virginia, and also, I might add, a little history lesson of Virginia International Raceway.
Welcome, everyone, to Virginia International Raceway. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide. And today we come to you from Alton, Virginia in the U.S., right along that North Carolina border. This track was constructed in 1957 by 4 sports car enthusiasts who sought out this 1,200-acre property of beautiful rolling hills to build this incredible sports car track. The first event was held here in August of 1957 and must have been quite a spectacle to see as road racing was becoming so popular at the time here in the U.S. And the first winner here at VIR was Ed Hugas in his 1956 Alfa Romeo. This track has 130 feet of elevation changes and is certainly a technical one for drivers to master. Let's go ahead and begin our track guide as we roll up the front straightaway. Get through the gears, we notice our pit entry to the right, our flag stand here to our right as well as we cross the stripe and head down this very fast entry into turn 1. We're going to get on those brakes about the 3 marker there, get all the way down into second gear, very tight entry on radius here as it opens up, coming out of turn 2. We'll head down into turn 3 here, very fast entry, and then it tightens up a little bit here for the second part. Come out of here, look for that tight left-hander of what's known as the left hook. Turn 4, and then back to the right into 5, and then up into 5A. This takes us into what's known as the snake. Very difficult section here to get that throttle just right. Come up into this short chute under the bridge and to head to one of my favorite portions of the track, the uphill S's. Pretty much flat out through this section, want to just glide right over those curves. A nice entry down into South Bend here. This is a tough section. Right over the crest, stay far to the right, back to the left. We get down through the gears and into this very infamous Oak Tree corner. Get down into first gear, get a good rotation. Want to get some good speed coming up onto this big long backstretch. This is where all the overtaking takes place. That's right, a lot of draft here on this uphill straightaway, and it's a very long one at that. We'll be reaching speeds of upwards of 160 plus miles an hour as we come up into what's known as the roller coaster. Back to the left, back to the right, very tight section, back on throttle, down into the dip to the left, back out to the right to track out for the entrance into what's known as Hog Pen. Back down to the right, through turn 17, up through the gears, and this will bring us right back out onto that front straightaway as we head to that stripe once again. Well, there you go. There's your track guide here in Alton, Virginia, VIR Raceway. We appreciate you being with us.
All right, well, thank you once again to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of beautiful Virginia International Raceway. It truly is like a country club there. I can tell you, Larry, for as many times as I've raced there, and of course you and I have called many races there as well. I mean, it's really one of the premier facilities, not just premier tracks, but premier facilities in North America, and has a long storied history, as Kevin Ford, of course, highlighted there as part of the track guide. So we are now just a little bit over 3 minutes into our 15-minute qualifying session. As we always do here in the Ricmotech World Challenge, we do hold what is known as a lone qualifying session. Essentially, drivers there on track, and it's as if they've got the track to themselves, and they have 4 opportunities, 4 hot laps to set a fast time to set the grid for this evening's 75-minute race here from Virginia International Raceway. And only driver so far to set a time, Caleb Lavender. There he is, stopping on track there by Snake. Lavender setting the bar at a 1:33.87 and is currently our provisional pole sitter. A couple more times coming in. If you take a look at our timing tower there on the left-hand side of the screen, and when you watch the cars on the track, pretty easy to tell the LMP2 cars, I think, from our GT3 entries, but they do have on the timing tower the blue background to their position on track, and if you take a look on the car there, blue number boards, blue windshield banners as well. And in the case of our GT3 entries, our GT3 Pro drivers, and we're on board right now with we're on board with Steve Daniel, who's one of our GT3. There you go, Evan Peichel, who is one of our GT3 Pro drivers. You'll see there they've got the red mirrors, the red windshield banner, and the red number boards as well. And our GT3 AM category drivers, they have the green mirrors, windshield banners, and number boards, just as Julian Bell does right there. All right, so Larry, let's do this as we've now just about a third of the way through qualifying. Let's take a quick look back and see where our drivers stand after after 5 rounds in the championship, Watkins Glen being the 5th 2 weeks ago. And we'll start off with the LMP2 drivers here, where Christian Eisler, who took the win 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, he is currently leading in the points in the category with 151 points. He's got an 11-point advantage over Caleb Lavender, our current fast driver on track in the 333 D2D E-Racing entry. Arthur Chan, who was not at Watkins Glen for round number 5, didn't seem to hurt him all that much. He is still sitting 3rd in the championship now with 131 points. But Jennifer McDonald, who we're going to talk to in just a few moments here before tonight's race, she's sitting only a couple points back in 4th. Only 5 points back from Arthur Chan with 126 points. If we take a look at GT3 Pro, our current leader in the championship, coming off of his win at Watkins Glen, Evan Peichel with 146 points. Tony Kernan, who finished 2nd, is sitting 8 points back with 138, and a pretty distant 30 points back to Jeff Jacobs. Jeff came in 4th at Watkins Glen. Andre Saunders, who finished 3rd, dropped a couple positions in the championship here. He's now sitting with 102 points in his Mohawk Racing entry. And Travis Schwenke, who's had a couple unfortunate outings in a row, currently sitting 5th in the championship. He finished 5th at Watkins Glen. And so if we take a look now at GT3 AM, your current points leader is Eduardo Lorente, and he's He's only got about a 10-point advantage over Steve Daniel. Laurenti in that Courage Motorsports machine did not have the best of outings at Watkins Glen, finished fourth in the race there, behind Julian Bell and Steve Daniel. Steve Daniel currently running second in the championship with 109 points, only 2-point advantage over the Graphite Racing entry of Julian Bell, and then Bobby Childs only 1 point back from there, but Russ Ruddick just 3 points back. So right now, only 6 points separating second through fifth in the GT3 AM Championship.
And they're only 10 points back from the overall points in the class. Your top six is 16 points apart. I think that's great. I think that's really where the action is going to be tonight, as well as the last couple of rounds still to come before the end of the season. I think really you're looking at the GT3 AM group. It's just being some exciting jostling for position. This is it. This is where these guys have got to get some good finishes. You can't afford to finish fifth or sixth right now. You got to go out and get wins.
Yeah, they've been active all year, and as we've seen, very, very tight action on track. It seems like nobody can win twice in a row there. Matter of fact, right now, Laurenti has 2 wins, Bell has 2 wins, Bobby Childs has a win there. Right now, Steve Daniel, oddly enough, who's sitting second in the championship without a win to his name.
Mr. Consistency, but yeah, he would like to get over that hump and get a win tonight. That would put him in a much better position to try and chase down that points leader, Laurenti. But right now, though, it's just so close between them. It's just unbelievable. He's be 5 races in and have it this tight.
Yeah, so we'll see how things play out here at Virginia International Raceway. And then, of course, we still have Daytona and Sebring on the schedule as well. Here, as we are now about 9 minutes into our 15-minute qualifying session, and Arthur Chan now has moved up to provisional pole. Puts in a 133.6. It's about a 10th up on Christian Eisler. Eisler in the number 14 machine. Their second fastest, Caleb Lavender, with his 133.83 sitting in third. So only 0.2 of a second separating the top 3. And Jennifer McDonald, who I mentioned we're going to be speaking to here in just a few moments, not all that far back. In GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel, your provisional pole sitter in the class with a 145.47, only a 10th up on Andre Saunders, with Travis Schwenke just a couple tenths back from there to 145.70.
Those two guys, Schwenke and Saunders, they could desperately use a good finish tonight. Both of them have struggled lately. They each could use that win to try and have any kind of ground here to catch your points leader, Peichel. But right now, sitting second and third is good for them, but they've got to watch out because Tony Kernan and Tony Kernan's been quick, but Saunders and Schwenke definitely could use good finishes tonight.
All right, and as we're waiting for Jennifer McDonald, and there she is. Just a quick rundown here in GT3 AM. Julian Bell, currently your fastest driver on track with a time of a 146.12, about 0.4 up on Steve Daniel, Eduardo Laurenti, about 0.8 back from there. Those are your top 3 in class currently. But Larry, it looks like we've got Jennifer McDonald, driver of the number 99 VTL Motorsports LMP2 entry. Let's bring her into the commentary box.
All right, Jennifer McDonald joining us here in commentary booth. Jennifer, how's your practice and qualifying gone so far? Jennifer, we're not hearing you.
Oh, hey guys.
There you are.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No worries. So, qualified so far 4th. Are you feeling confident with this track layout tonight?
Yeah, it should be a fun one. It's going to be a little bit challenging with traffic, but it's always a fun track to drive.
Yeah, because normally in the past we've done this as 2 split races. LMP2s, I'll try that again. They get their own, and then the GT3s would get their own. But tonight they've got you guys in the LMP2s right out there with all of them. So it's definitely going to be interesting with all the track. Have you had a chance to practice intermixing with the GT3s and figured out good spots to get by?
Yeah, we had some good practice before the race, so it should be good.
That's good. I think in this league there's a lot of practice session open to the drivers. Do a lot of folks take advantage of that? Are you one of them that takes advantage of maybe some of those additional practices throughout the week?
Yeah, I try to, and we get a good mix of cars out there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, they get an opportunity like this. So as we wind up, we got 2 more rounds after this to going into the season. You're right there in that mix. You've got a few others around you with points, with Chris Thorman behind you, Arthur Chan out in front of you. Are you looking to try and maybe get to a podium tonight, get some points out of this, or what's your goals going into tonight?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, looking forward to just kind of having a good run. Arthur and I ran a bit in practice, and we're close, so just going to try to hang with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And Arthur's quick. He's right up there in the front row right now, so I know you've got the pace to stick with them, so looking forward to that. And Good luck tonight. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you at the end. Maybe if you can put this thing on the front row at the end of the race.
Yeah, sounds great. We'll have fun.
Good luck, Jennifer.
All right, there you go. Jennifer McDonald, driver of the BTL Motorsports number 99 LMP2 car. She has completed all 4 of her laps in qualifying, and it looks like all of our LMP2 drivers have. She is going to start 4th this evening in tonight's race, as we still have just about 2.5 minutes remaining here in qualifying, and we've got Christian Eisler out on track on his final qualifying lap. He's already your provisional pole sitter, but trying to improve upon that 133.22. We also have Tony Kernan currently on his final lap of the qualifying session. There's Tony as he's coming down the front straight and crossing the start-finish line. He is also your provisional pole sitter in GT3 Pro tonight in that beautiful Porsche 911, the Kernan Motorsports entry. And he puts in a 145.36, improves upon his previous best. He will, of course, hold on to provisional pole.
That's impressive. That's really good for him to be able to start that race on the inside of that front row, maybe hold that position through turn 1 and keep the current points leader, Evan Peichel, behind him. Tony would love to get a win here tonight.
All right, so here as we've got just a few moments here left in qualifying, and you can see here, if you take a look to the timing tower, you can see the splits at the top of the field there with Kernan, Peichel, Saunders, Schwenke, your top 4 in GT3 Pro, Bell, Daniel, Ruddock, and Eduardo Lorente, who is your current points leader in GT3 AM, starting in 4th. But again, a long race, Larry, 75 minutes. We are going to see the GT3 drivers bring their cars in for at least 1 pit stop. They're not going to have enough fuel to make it the whole way. Our LMP2 drivers, and perhaps that was something we should have asked Jennifer, if she had any thoughts on pit strategy tonight. As our LMP2 drivers, will likely need to make 2 pit stops here this evening in order to be able to make it on fuel. That maybe she had something in
I think that is
mind.
a key thing tonight. We see this a lot anyway with a lot of the rounds. Some of the drivers try to make it a 1. Sometimes they got to make that second stop. But knowing you probably have to make the 2, it may be less about running it dry and just coming in all at the same time, and more about picking your spots because of that traffic tonight. It could be critical. It could be the difference between 3 and 4 seconds if you get stuck behind a GT3 car for an entire lap.
Yeah, exactly, and that's and so maybe going into this with a strategy doesn't really pay. It's more a question of what you find on track at the time, and try to go and use the pit stop to try and get yourself out of traffic here. But we've got about 5 seconds before the checkered flag will be out. We have no cars remaining on track. We have 13 starters this evening, and we will run down the starting grid here in just a moment. But Larry, should be a good time. Certainly, if as we saw at Watkins Glen, obviously the drivers constrained quite a bit by that blue Armco, and we did have some incidents that impacted some drivers' races. The one thing about VIR is if you go off, you have a little bit of runway there to recover the car and get back out on track and continue. So should keep some drivers in the game for a little bit longer. But we can talk about that as the night goes on. Why don't we run down tonight's starting grid?
All right, let's go ahead and get started with the fast of the fast, the LMP2 grid, and on that pole position, putting down that flyer there on his 4th and final lap, Christian Eisler, right up there on the pole position, Punta CL Racing at the front. He'll be alongside on the front row, Arthur Chan from the Axon Driving Solutions entry, about 4/10 back there on his pole time. On the second row, a G2DE Racing by Skull Sim, that's Caleb Lavender. He'll be in the inside of row 2 alongside, we just talked to her, BTL Motorsports, Jennifer McDonald. On row 3, all by himself from G2DE Racing, Chris Thorman. And then we'll jump into our GT3 Pro category. On the pole tonight in the Pro category, Tony Kernan just jumped ahead of the second place spot to take that pole in the Kernan Motorsports entry. He'll be alongside your points leader from Alpine Stars, Geodesic Racing, Evan Peichel. Row 2, Mohawk Racing on the inside, it's Andre Saunders. He'll be lined up alongside the Orion Racing, Travis Schwenke. And then we'll move to the GT3 AM. On the pole there is going to be Julian Bell from Graphite Racing. He'll be alongside Steve Daniel, SKKJ Racings. On the second row there, we've got Russ Ruddock, Flying Tortoise Motorsport, alongside the Courage Motorsports entry of Eduardo Lorente. And that's the battle to watch, is that foursome there, all bunched together there in that AM category. That could be a good one tonight.
Yeah, that is probably going to end up being a 75-minute sprint race, and definitely is going to be something to watch here. Sure. As the pace car should be bringing the field around, and they'll start rolling off here in just a second. There they go, as the pace car now has the field and bringing our pole sitter, Christian Eisler, now down the front straight here as our drivers try to get a little bit or a lot of heat into the equipment, into the tires, into the brakes, and thankfully here with 3.27 miles, lots of opportunity for them to do so here. And Larry, so Eisler, he is looking for win number 4 this evening, out of 6, and of the 3 categories, of the 3 classes. Eisler, certainly by no means safe, although I think he's got the largest lead in the championship right now over the 3 classes at a whopping 9 points. But again, when you're giving out, I believe 35 points for the win, that could, depending on how you finish, could hurt things. Of course, we have 5 cars in LMP2 right now, so we paid down to 26 points. So about actually a 9-point spread from the field here, from first back into 5th. So we'll have to keep that in mind. And as you see on your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, we will cover both of our starts for you. We've got the LMP2 drivers as they're now starting to make their way up through the S's on the left-hand side of your screen, and our GT3 drivers that are holding back quite a bit. They just came out of the area known as Snake and going underneath that pedestrian bridge. They'll be on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, we do have here for our starts what we consider to be a start zone, where the drivers can, and this is more or less to control the speeds going down into turn 1 on the very first lap. And so our pole sitter, he can essentially start racing once they get to, and get on the throttle, once they get to about the entrance to pit in for the north paddock, as opposed to the south paddock that they're passing right now. Yeah, and
that's a good spot to start that for the sprint, though it does leave that pole sitter still potentially going to get passed and drafted all the way down, because it's a pretty long run, even from pit in all the way down into that turn 1. 2 really long straightaways here, specifically obviously the long straight here that you can see the south paddock there. That's a very long straight, one of the longest of any tracks we visit, but that front straight is certainly long as well, so opportunities should be there for drivers who can get a good jump and maybe even make a move going into 1.
All right, as the pace car is leading our LMP2 field now up to the top of what we call the roller coaster here at VIR. They'll make a quick little left-hand bend that they're doing right now, and then hard on the brakes to turn 14, and then they start that winding road down into Hogpen and onto the front straight. But here only just a couple more corners to go, and we will be getting racing for 75 minutes here from Virginia International Raceway. All right,
listening to the steward giving them their cues.
All right, as the pace car now brings them onto the front straight and peels into the pit lane. Christian Eisler now has the field, and he is underway. And Arthur Chan there had to wait until Eisler got on the gas, so he's now is about a half a car length back. But you can see now moving up the inside is Caleb Lavender trying to make a move on Chan. Chan comes across driver's right to cover as they go under braking into turn number 1. So it will be Eisler, Chan, Lavender, McDonald, and Thorman as our GT3 field. They're just now coming out of Hogpen. We'll get their start here in just a moment as they come onto the front straight, but already about a 2-car length separation between our top 4 cars in LMP2.
Good start there for Eisler. He was able to hold the field long enough. Arthur, as you mentioned, had to really watch his shoulders there as Lavender wanted to get on by, but they have fallen in line, and they're going to try and chase down that leader as our GT3s now, for the first time, come into turn 1.
All right, and as they do, it is Tony Kernan got a great jump on Evan Peichel, the number 7 Porsche, holding off the 263 BMW. Then we've got Saunders, Schwenke, Julian Bell all in a row. But oh, look at this, coming out of South Bend, going wide was Arthur Chan in the number 50 machine. He now drops back about 15 car lengths from our LMP2 leader.
Everyone
Eisler.
behind him had to check up as well to make sure they didn't run into him. But that's Cold Tire's first lap here in LMP2s. But he's able to keep it going. Sometimes that those offs you can end up all the way back on Madison Avenue, or sometimes they can hook to the inside and hit the wall. Luckily for Arthur, he's able to keep it going straight and kept it on the asphalt. But now he's just given up a pretty big margin now to Eisler out in front.
Yeah, and he's now under attack from Caleb Lavender as they come down through Hog Pen for the very first time and onto the front straight as Eisler completes lap 1.
Back to the GT3s, as it looked like Saunders may have gone around, coming around the oak tree. We'll get back to that in a minute.
All right, we'll take a look at that. And yeah, indeed, it looks like, as I'm looking back at one of the views here, I believe we did have Evan Peichel, the 263 BMW, possibly go around, but Schwenke doesn't gather him up. And I think Schwenke was far enough back that he hasn't been able to retake the position. Maybe we can get it, or probably, did you say Peichel? Or
it was
Saunders, the black
he's
72
dropped all the way to the
BMW.
back of the field. Looks like he's going again, but Saunders has had those troubles with the starts, so... We'll catch a replay here.
All right, we got a replay coming up, and we'll take a look and see exactly what happened to Andre Saunders.
Yeah, Saunders, the third car in the shot there. He comes in and just gets way too up underneath the back of Peichel, and he just goes around all by himself, has to wait for the field to clear before he can resume, and that's going to hurt his start of his race. He's got 74 minutes of struggle now to try and catch back up to Peichel.
All right, so there you go, as Saunders now sitting 13th overall. Sitting 5th in GT3 field, and as you said, Larry, he's got a long way to go as we jump on board right now with Caleb Lavender, who is trying to draft past Arthur Chan as they come up to 14.
Right. Did you hear him lift a little bit? He did not want to make that pass and lose their chances. He's playing the long game here, wants to try and see if he can keep up with that leader out in front. If nothing else, keep the gap so that when they get the traffic, maybe make up some ground there, but he did not want to try and go side by side with Arthur there at the top of the hill.
Yeah, and you can see, though, you watch that view, and Arthur coming down through the roller coaster there, the car looking a little unsettled, maybe doesn't have the heat in the tires quite yet, as Chan now pulls to the inside, pulls drivers right to hold off and advance by Lavender as they go down into turn number 1. Maybe Arthur doesn't have the same playbook that Caleb Lavender does, and yeah, it would behoove both of them to try and catch up to Eisler there, as we know from previous weeks that Eisler has got pretty good pace around
he's already
most of the
showing
circuits.
it. Eisler's first lap of the books of 34.8, already pulled out a second faster than everybody else, so he's on the move quickly.
Yeah, as he heads up through the S's there. Great
smooth.
showing early on by him to set out, put in those hero laps and really separate himself out from the rest of the field. It certainly didn't help with Chan running off at South Bend, where they just crossed here for lap number 2 and really held the rest of the field back. But at this point, I think, Larry, as we've seen in previous weeks here, it's not going to be the best thing here, although, these long straightaways certainly aren't going to hurt, but certainly in the twisty stuff and maybe for the wheelbase of these LMP2 cars, some of these corners end up being a little more tight than maybe for the GT3 cars, that he's not going to want to hang back lest he run off his front tires.
Yeah, just watching him right now, you can even see the car on board here with Lavender. A lot of catching of that car here. Yeah, he's just trying to stay behind it, but without that air, as you mentioned, sometimes you get a lot more front tire wear when you're up underneath somebody, but also you lose a lot of that downforce. The car turns into a push, and sometimes you get that push kick. As we flash back to our GT3 AM, I think that should be Bell.
Yeah, this is Julian Bell and
Steve,
and I believe sitting right back behind him. We've got Travis Schwenke ahead of him.
Yeah.
Schwenke currently running 3rd in Pro. Julian Bell, he is your GT3 AM leader. and those two Porsches nose to tail as they come out of Oak Tree. And as it stands right now, Julian Bell, he's opened up almost a 3-second advantage now over Steve Daniel, running in second in GT3 AM in that Ferrari. You could see him back there just now coming into 14.
I think Bell wants to stick with the big boys tonight. He wants to try and stay pace with the pros and just got to pull away from the AMs, and that's what he's doing right now. He's just sitting in the back of that Porsche with Schwenke, thinking, all right, I'll just follow in line between him and try and leave Daniel and Ruddock in my dust. And he's doing a pretty good job of it early on here.
Yeah, he is, and he's, of course, got the advantage. He's got Schwenke pulling him down these long straightaways as well. And you can see just ahead the battle with Kernan and Peichel for the lead in GT3 Pro, getting pretty tight as well as we jump back over to our LMP2 race. And that battle for second with Arthur Chan and Caleb Lavender. And, you know, Larry, it looks like, at least coming here out of Hogpen, Lavender seems to get a very good run almost every lap, uses the draft. He gets up almost alongside Arthur Chan, but Arthur Chan, he sticks that car to the inside, and there's just nowhere for Lavender to go except to get under the brakes and follow him around for at least another half a lap.
Yeah, and I think that's all Lavender's doing is just sort of sitting there. I don't think he's trying anything. It seemed like if he was, he'd actually do it back on Madison Avenue on that back straight.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would try it on the front straight just because the way that right-hander of turn one doesn't really give you much opportunity, whereas in the back straight, you should be able to get alongside somebody, and with the tighter entry to roller coaster, it's typically a better passing opportunity. So I don't think he's really pushing right now. I think he's just showing Arthur that, hey, I'm here. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and so Eisler now has opened up his advantage to 3.5 seconds, picking up another half a second on that last lap. So, at this rate, Eisler still has, I'd say, probably another 2 laps to go before, well, I was going to say 2 laps before he gets up to the back of the GT3 traffic. It may not be that long, maybe 3/4 of the lap, but they're stretched out.
The back of that traffic right now is Andre Saunders. We know is actually one of the quicker in the pro category there after that spin that he had. He's actually the tail of the field right now, so that should be the first car that those LMP2s come up on. But this right now is the lead, and I'm starting to wonder if tonight, if maybe the balance has shifted to the Porsche. We talked earlier about Julian Bell, how well he started out this race. Don't forget who sat on the pole here in the GT3s is Tony Kernan. He has not been on pole in a while in this series, so putting that on pole, there may be a bit of an advantage for the Porsche on pace tonight. We'll see if it's a long, how long that stays, and if he wears his tires differently than that big BMW behind him. The Porsche do tend to wear front tires pretty heavily. But we'll see how long Peichel's able to stick with him, and if maybe in the long run Peichel's got the better game.
Yeah, well, and you'll notice here getting a lot of slip from the rear end of that Porsche. As I was watching him during practice this evening before we went on air, the medium length runs for Tony Kernan, the rear end of that Porsche was starting to get very loose. So certainly something that we're going to want to watch through the course of the evening here. It may be a question of rear tire wear versus front tire wear.
I think that's part of how you try and counteract that in a Porsche is when you run your setup a little bit is you constantly want to add more grip to the front end, which in the long run wears your rear tires, but doesn't wear the fronts as much. You're constantly trying to find that balance of tire wear, and maybe you're right. Maybe he shifted the balance a little bit too far to the rear for him, but we'll have to wait and see. It is a long, long race.
All right, and well, here you go. As Eisler is now having to make his way through the back of our GT3 traffic, and that has allowed Chan and Lavender to close things up just a little bit, but they may come up onto the Andre Saunders and Eduardo Lorente going down into 14 here, and are they? Oh, and you can see there Lavender might have gotten balked a little bit as he tried to give deference to those GT3 cars.
Not bad though for them. That's a much bigger gap they've just closed up than maybe what they would have ever hoped for. As it looked like Eisler may have had to wait for the GT3s to clear Oak Tree, and that's causing this. And now he had to wait again for that Lamborghini there. Now you look, here they are. All three nose to tail, and Chan's got a shot at the lead.
Here we go. Oh, and Chan's going to move to the inside. Eisler goes to cover, and they're now coming up onto the back of Steve Daniels' Ferrari here as they go through turn one. This should be a quick opportunity for them to scoot by that Ferrari going into the turn called NASCAR, that quick little bend there, and they do all three make it by. Now here, I guess we'll have to watch here now is Lavender had been showing pace that maybe Chan did not have through the middle section of this course here, and whether or not he can use that to his advantage, or whether these drivers are going to be
I think that
challenged by
patience
traffic.
just paid off, though. The fact that he was patient enough to stick behind Chan and not to be the aggressor where they put themselves both out of position and lost a lot of pace, because that now playing nicely has allowed them to stay up nice and close here to the back of Eisler and have a shot to maybe try and stick with Eisler again. It's a long race. Passing now isn't necessarily needed, but certainly you're glad to see the gaps closed up, and here they are with more traffic on the back straight.
Yeah, as they come out of Oak Tree and onto the back straight here, yeah, it's a pretty amazing how quickly a 3.5 second advantage can disappear here. And you could see there Arthur Chan
using it. Yep.
Trying to use the draft of I guess that was Schwenke, I guess, that they had just gotten by there on the back straight, and using whatever he can to keep up with ISO. But you can see now a lot of traffic as they start to roll down through roller coasters. They're coming up on our GT3 leaders, Kernan and Peichel.
Yeah, so what ISO needs now is he needs to get by one of these just before corner entry and stick the other two behind him. But if Chan's smart enough, and it looks like he knows that, he does not want to have to go through any corner differently than Eisler. He doesn't want to be stuck. Now he's got the inside line, though, into one.
Yeah, going deep into turn one is Arthur Chan. And you can see there the 333 of Lavender didn't have anywhere to go as he poked down to the inside as well. But Eisler, for the moment, able to hold off those two drivers. He is going to keep his number 14 car there in the lead as we are now working lap number 8 here at Virginia International Raceway, a 75-minute run to the checker, and things are definitely closing down now. It looks like as they've just made their way past our GT3 leaders that they've got a little bit of breathing room for at least another lap or so. We'll see if Eisler can stretch that gap once again, or maybe now that Chan has some heat in the tires, whether or not he can keep that pace up and keep the pressure on the 14 car.
Yep, as Lavender certainly is keeping the pressure from the third onto the second spot, but Chan needs to do a little bit better job of exiting corners. You can see right there, mid-corner there, he kind of struggled a little bit, didn't get on the power as early as Lavender did, or nearly as early as Eisler did. Lavender's sensing this. He wants to get by and be the leader of these two trailing Eisler, and I think he's about to do it.
All right, and now as Lavender chucks the car in the 14, he takes over second position from Arthur Chan, dropped the 50 car, now down into third, and we'll see if Lavender now has something for our leader as they come onto the front straight to complete lap number 8 here at VIR. But great move there, and yeah, I think, and we saw that through a number of the earlier laps, Larry, that some of the slower corners, obviously Oak Tree being one, but coming out of turn 4, otherwise known as left hook here, same thing, that it just looked like Chan maybe wasn't getting good jumps, wasn't able to get the foot back on the throttle as quickly as the 333 car.
And I'm starting to wonder if he's running a little less downforce than the other guys, certainly over the rear of that car. Could be potentially why he's having so much trouble getting off the corners. Would help him at the end of the straightaways to be able to make passes or defend, but it's not getting him really the good grip out of the corners if the back end's a little bit loose and maybe spinning some tires coming out of corners. Well,
yeah, I mean, and we've seen here where the exit speed of some of these corners has helped Lavender enough that it really, if Chan is running a little less downforce on the wing there, that it's being counteracted by the grip levels that the 333 car is getting out of the corners. And you can see there already as they come out of Oak Tree, a much better exit for Lavender, and he now opens up about 0.6 of a second on Chan, actually. About 0.6.
Yeah, and he looks like he's right in that draft behind Eisler. This is right where Lavender wants to be. I got to applaud his effort here early on to be smart about being patient behind Chan, not to push it, not to get lost, and to make sure they hold this battle to Eisler. Use a little bit of luck from the traffic of cars, take when you get it, but has put himself in this position and then finally made the move around Chan, and now he wants to stick with Eisler. But I tell you, Eisler has just got pace. He just ran a lap in a 1:33.9, quickest lap of the race. And that's a nearly full load of fuel.
But he looked like he might have run a little wide there coming out of out of turns 1 and 2. And but that 134 flat, we'll call it a 133.98, almost 0.2 of a second faster than Caleb Lavender that last time around. But again, we'll see what happens when they run up on traffic. As the last time through, Eisler obviously was not at an advantage there, and it allowed the other two drivers to really close things down. But you can see here as they make their way through the S's, a lot of open room.
Thorman's doing the same thing right now. Chris Thorman getting by our GT3 Pro leaders there, and Tony Kernan and Evan Peichel. And we saw a little bit ago in the middle of all that too, Jennifer McDonald doing the same thing. So it looks like all the LMP2s now have cleared once through all the GT3s, and then in about 2 laps we'll get to do it again.
Yeah, and as we look at the inverse of that story and look how Peichel has been able to keep with Tony Kernan as those LMP2 drivers were making their way through. And obviously, as we see, not all of those passes were made on the straight. Some of them in some very difficult areas, like coming out of turn 3, going into left hook, that would have great opportunity to separate those two cars. But look at that BMW all over the back of the Porsche as they come through the slowest corner on the course, come through Oak Tree there, but having the weight over the rear axle in that Porsche is able to, dig out of that corner.
I'm starting to wonder if there's maybe a straightaway speed advantage here for the Porsche, as the BMW does not seem to be able to even use any bit of draft to be able to make up anything there.
No.
Despite having what looked like a pretty good exit off of Oak Tree, not able to turn that into anything. So either he's just being super patient, maybe do a little bit of fuel save here. Otherwise, I'm wondering if, at least in the short run, the Porsche has got the legs to be able to hold off any charges.
Yeah, the BMW, it looks like it's got great turn-in for corners.
Yeah.
He's getting very good rotation. It just doesn't seem to have the legs through some of the corners. Again, we know that some of those slower corners, certainly the Porsche would have an advantage, but you can see here, but you can see there, for example, he's able to make up a little bit of ground mid-corner, but just not able to power out of these corners like the Porsche.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is either it is a power difference, or perhaps he's just saving a little bit, saving that fuel, trying to extend his fuel run a little bit longer and cut his fuel stop down, or maybe he's just saving some tire, although the way he's still sliding the car around, I don't know how much tire he's saving. A little onboard here, maybe we'll get to see. He might be doing a little bit of fuel saving. This is the kind of spot where you can do it, just a nice lift all the way through there and let the draft do the work.
You lift a little bit coming into South Bend, get back on. And going off wide, coming out of South Bend is our leader, Tony Kernan. He's able to gather it back up, though, gets back out on track and manages to hold off Peichel for the moment. But we'll see if Peichel is able to convert this into something. Yeah,
Peichel was kind of frozen, didn't really know what to do. Wasn't sure if Tony was going to come ripping across the track in front of him from that right side. But, no harm, no foul at this point. He's for Tony, he's able to kind of clean things up, get back out there, and not lose the position, and for Evan, take the battle to another day.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have plenty more opportunities over the course of the race here. But that's now we've seen 2 drivers in 2 different categories go off there at South Bend. One of the fastest corners on the track comes out of the S's here are such high speed to go off at South Bend and to find the car not sliding all the way across through the grass. Pretty incredible there is both Arthur Chan on lap 1 and now Tony Kernan able to gather things back up without losing a position or losing a lot of time.
Yeah, look at that BMW, the way he can attack the corners. If he's able to get on by and it may be through a pit stop thing, I do wonder what kind of pace he really has in that car. We know that Tony put the Porsche on the front row here at the start of the race, but I'm wondering about the long-term pace. That BMW might have something left in the tank to give a run to Tony before this thing's over.
Yeah, it just looks like it's eating the corners up. Again, a little bit lower speeds here, but if he can keep the Porsche in his sights as we go down into the pit cycles, and again, he may be doing a little bit of fuel savings there, maybe a little bit more than the Porsche is. It may come down to that pit stop a little bit later.
Just watching how smooth he can be on board here. On board here with Evan Peichel in that BMW. So turn in, a couple of blips, the downshifts.
See, and that's where that car looks so smooth there, Larry, coming out of Oak Tree. That, just the minute steering inputs put on that car, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm listening to his shifts now to see if he's doing anything that looks like a fuel save. I don't see anything. No, I don't think he's fuel saving. So he might have an advantage in the corners, but can't really make that work for him right now. So we'll see.
All right, let's check in real quick with Andre Saunders, Larry, that I think he may have had a few more issues here on track, and indeed he does.
A little bit extra hook in his left hook.
Yes, as he goes off there at turn 4, left hook, gets the car gathered back up, but Andre Saunders' evening has not worked out the way he's wanted it to so far, as he is still sitting back in 4th now in GT3 Pro. He's got three AM cars that he has to work his way past just to get up to Travis Schwenke. And looking on the clock here, it's a long
Saunders
way.
is the guy. We talk about him on the start of the show here. Saunders needed a good finish. He comes into this 4th in points after having a couple of struggle races there. We know he's got raw speed. We always see him qualifying near the front, but then he runs into these issues, puts the car off. Schwenke's a guy that also needs a good finish. He's running 3rd right now. He's still in a good position, but those two guys, one of them's having a good night, the other not so much, as we get a good look here at that 72.
Yeah, let's see as he comes through and comes in the left hook again, exactly what happens here. And
the car's loose.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Larry, as we saw him coming out of 2, it looked like the rear end of that car was trying to walk on him. It can't be the nicest ride, and you can see there the damage on the nose of that BMW from where he put it into the wall over out on the outside of turn 4 just a lap ago.
Yeah, well, he may like a loose car, but unfortunately right now, loose means it's unpredictable for him. So I'm hoping he can get used to that over the next 60 minutes or so and bring that thing home. But he's got a lot of work to do to catch back up to the likes of Schwenke.
Yeah, and when you compare how that car is handling, as our LMP2 drivers are starting to make their way through the back of the field for the second time. When you compare the way the BMW of Saunders is handling compared to Evan Peichel's geodesic entry, like night and day, is Christian Eisler trying to come underneath the 72, and
beautiful move for Eisler. They're able to use Saunders as a bit of a pick.
And you can see here, I don't think Lavender hasn't made his way around the 72 machine yet. He's going to follow him all the way down through the roller coaster, just now clearing him at Hogpen. And that little move there by Christian Eisler, that last little move going into the top of the roller coaster, netted him almost 2.5 seconds. The gap now back to Caleb Lavender, 2.75 seconds. So that has opened things up once again for the number 14 CL Punto Racing entry.
Just like that, momentum swings back your way if you're Christian Eisler, to be able to use that in the same way that it worked against you earlier in this race that allowed Chan and Lavender to catch him. Now he's able to kind of turn around a little bit and put that lead right back out there by using some of the slower traffic. But then it works against him here as he's on the tail of Steve Daniel, and Lavender's got to run.
Yeah, he certainly does. Lavender get a great run through Snake, and it's all of a sudden that 1 3/4 second advantage, it's now gone as they're popping the curbs going up through the S's. As we look back from the back of Christian Eisler's machine, both of those drivers clear through South Bend successfully, and let's see what happens here under brakes going into Oak Tree. And get the rear end steps out a little bit on the 333 car, but nothing dramatic there as he feeds the throttle back in, and he is definitely in the draft.
In the draft, yeah.
And he's flashing the headlights like Eisler is gonna get concerned there by that. Maybe I'll just pull over and let him by as they go into the roller coaster. And look at that, just what traffic can do just in the course of a lap. They're absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's why it's so critical to dispatch of that traffic as fast as you can. At least get them on entry, and even if it means you get a bad line on exit, at least you don't get stuck through the corner behind one of those GT3 cars. It really makes a huge difference. Like you said, it's probably a 2 second to 2.5 second swing every time you get stuck behind them for each corner. I mean, their lap times are 10 seconds difference around this place.
Yeah.
You think about that, 10 seconds on a 3.2 mile track. You're talking about a second on every single corner.
And here we go, coming up on some more traffic here as they're nose to tail, and it looks like
Julian Bell right there.
Yeah, as they come up on the back of our GT3 AM leader, Julian Bell.
They're going to catch him in the S's. I don't think they're going to get by him on the short straight. It's going to be the upper S's.
No, this is going to close things down once again. Yeah, and Bell makes it to the entry of turn 7 ahead of Eisler. And as they now make their way up through the S's, we'll see if our LMP2 drivers can sneak it underneath going into South Bend. They cannot. They're going to have to make the run. Oh, and look at
this move by Isa just to be able to slip on through and leave a car between he and Lavender. Smart driving there by Isler.
That's right, and you saw Lavender for a second there, Larry. Like he poked to the inside, like he was going to try to toss the car underneath the Porsche of Bell going into Oak Tree, and I think thought better of it because I think he figured he would probably end up in the guardrail over there.
Yeah. Well, now we got Swanky here in front of Isler, so
yeah.
All going to turn around.
Pendulum swings the other way.
Yeah.
Here, but you know.
So glad we mixed the two into one big race tonight instead of two separate sprints. This is way more fun.
Oh, and look at that as Isler almost goes right up into the rear of the number 16 machine, and that allows Lavender to pull right up behind him.
All this has allowed Arthur Chan, too. It's going to be a three-way fight.
He's back into the game as well, Larry, now as they all go down in the turn one, nose to tail. And it's amazing to watch just how the pendulum swings, you know, from half a lap here to half a lap there, how one car gets the advantage, and then 4 turns later, they're all back and jumbled up again.
Isa doing it again. He's trying to stay alongside through the corner and try and use the GT3 like a pick. Look at that. Beautiful. He could have probably cleared him before entry, decides to go alongside through the corner and leave Lavender behind the GT3. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and so you saw there as he used Evan Peichel, kept Peichel out to driver's right, going through left hook, and that has allowed Isler now, at least for the moment, to open up about a 10-car length advantage. But the other thing you'll notice here, Larry, as part of this story, is that Tony Kernan now, who's got to look in his rearview mirror for these LMP2 cars, he's now opened up a tremendous advantage over Evan Peichel in the battle for the lead in GT3 Pro. Here is Lavender and once again Arthur Chan using that draft for as long as he can, gets on by, but the separation between our GT3 Pro leaders now about 15 car lengths.
Yeah, and that really might be the story there, that it allowed the GT3s to get separated. In addition to what we saw Isler using it to his advantage, that may have actually worked to Evan Peichel's disadvantage, going, hey man, get out of my way, I got to go catch a Porsche up here. But yeah, it's a long race. We've still got a good 50 minutes or so left. Nothing is decided at this stage.
All right, and as they work their way out of Hog Pen, completing lap number 17, starting lap number 18, now Christian Isler back to about a 1.5 advantage. So
he gets separated for a couple laps. He's gotten through the GT3 field for a second time.
Yeah, you know, and we've seen this. It goes, you know, from a 1.5 to a 2 3/4, and then it compresses down 3 laps later to where they're nose to tail again. But you know, the other point now is that we can see Arthur Chan back into this battle as well, whereas he had fallen off for a couple of laps now. Lavender's definitely got to watch his 6 now to see exactly what happens here. Now, Larry, as we take a look and try to determine when these drivers may start to take their pit stops, you know, we anticipate that the LMP2 cars, as with most of the circuits, can do maybe about 30 minutes on a tank of fuel here.
I think tonight's notes said they might have been given a little bit more fuel allowance to make sure they only have to do 1 stop tonight. So maybe switching it up for them, so they might be able to go maybe more around the 40 to 45 minute here before they have to come in. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that. We'll know probably in the next 2 laps or so, Larry, whether or not they're going to have to pit in.
And I can exactly. And I can tell you if it is a 1 stopper, or regardless, if you have an opportunity to choose when you stop, I think tonight for Christian Isler, it's going to be as soon as he reaches the back of the GT3s.
Exactly. Is go in and leave the other 2 drivers bottlenecked behind the GT3 traffic. Yeah. Exactly.
And I'd be, even if I'm sitting in 2nd or 3rd, whether I'm Lavender or whether I'm Chan, I probably would take the same strategy. As soon as us as a 3 LMP2s get to the back of the GT3s the next time, if the fuel window's open, go in and go. At least leave yourself 1 lap or 2 laps here clear, where maybe you can come back out and not have to worry so much about GT3s. If you make your way through them 1 time and then you stop for fuel, you have to go right back through them again.
You know, one thing I've noticed, Larry, in watching Isler in comparison to both Lavender and Chan, the car appears to be set up maybe a little bit more loose, noticing almost every single time he comes through turn 2, gets the rear end to hang out quite a bit.
More Chan?
No, this is Isler. Compared to both Lavender and Chan, and I'm wondering if it's just a question of, you know, given it's a slower speed corner, and maybe not get enough airflow over the rear wing, but it doesn't seem to affect them as much here through Oak Tree.
He might just be one of those drivers that can handle a little bit more of that lower downforce, looser at slow speed type of corners, which allows the car to rotate really well at low speeds as long as he's got the hand speed to keep up with it. And maybe that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
It's a long car, and some of these corners, like that turn 1-2 complex, left hook, another one, even Oak Tree being a right-hander at the other end, where a car that rotates quickly can definitely be an advantage to help get the car pointed the right way.
Get it pointed the right way, get the throttle, get into the throttle.
But it takes a lot of control in both your right foot as well as your hands to make sure that you don't goose the car a little bit or throw it in too hard.
Well, and as I say that, as loose as I think his car looks on exit through there, and you can see right there, Larry, it steps out a little bit on him. Christian Eisler just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 1:33.6, almost 1,500ths faster than Caleb Lavender.
Well, all three of these drivers right here, they all just turned their fastest lap of the race. That 0.7 for Lavender and for Chan, but that 0.60 for Eisler is just screaming. That would have, I think, it might have put him on the pole for the race had he done that in qualifying. That's how good of a lap that is. It's up there. I think he might have been a 33.1 was his pole time, and I think everyone else is around a 33.4 or 5. So that's quick, though. A 33.6 here in race trim, 30 minutes in. That is flying.
All right, so on board right now, watching Andre Saunders in that black number 72 BMW coming up onto the back of our second place runner in GT3 AM, Steve Daniel, in the bronze Ferrari there, and we'll see here if Saunders can get him under braking going into turn 1. Looks like he's going to hold off for the moment here. You can see there from... All right, we'll take a look. Notice that both Lorente and Ruddock have dropped back through the field, and let's take a look. I think we've got a replay here of Russ Ruddock. Ooh!
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
That's going full off. He hit nothing, though. I'm impressed.
Yeah, that absolutely is. He was going down the back straight there. I don't know what happened there from to hit the to get into the runoff road there, the crossover road in Madison Avenue.
Gauges. Oh, we've got is that Eisler into the pits now?
Here we go, and following him in is also Oh my gosh, as Caleb Lavender gets into the pits as well, the 333 car. Looks like Arthur Chan has decided to stay out. Jennifer McDonald out as well. That was the Lamborghini of Ruddock, I believe. That
just parked there.
Yeah.
And Eisler was able to go around him. Lavender, I think, was trying to get to his pit stall. Unfortunately, with iRacing, if you're in the pit side, the actual right side against the pit wall, the cars are ghosts you could drive through. If you're out in that driving lane through the pit road, it is not ghost, and you can make contact, and that's what we just saw there.
And we just saw
hopefully no damage there for him.
Oof. Yeah, we'll see if that impacts him. As again, we've got Lavender still in the pit box. It looks like Eisler may be back out on track already. Indeed, he is, as he took his first splash of gas. And there you go, Larry, pitting on at the end of lap number 20. Yeah. Looks like it is going to be a 2-stop race likely for these drivers here
Lavender
tonight.
May have had to repair the car a little bit. His pit stop is about 20 seconds longer than Eisler's, and they pretty much came in together. I doubt he took tires. I'm guessing he may have had to take a little bit of repairs after that contact with the Ruddock car sitting in pit lane.
Wow, so there you go. So we'll have to see how things play out now let's take a look at the little pit lane incident there between Lavender and Russ Ruddock. Yeah. Not that I think Ruddock had anything to do with it.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Lavender, he does run into him, and now Lavender's got it. Like I said, I think that 20 seconds could easily be for some repairs, which is just going to hurt his chances now, as he was right on the tail of Eisler for the first 30 minutes. He's got to go and figure out how he's going to get back into this. And by the way, that may have answered our question about how much fuel they have on board if they're stopping at the 30-minute mark. I don't think they can go another 45.
No, as Arthur Chan and Jennifer McDonald have both made their way into the pits as well. There's the Axon Driving Solutions machine sitting at the front end of the pit lane there. We should see him start to roll out here in just a moment. We'll have to see as Eisler now making his way down the front straight. As Chan, you can see the smoke in the air. He's now off the limiter and back out, but margin now almost 3 full seconds between Christian Eisler, who regains the lead in LMP2, and Arthur Chan. And Jennifer McDonald, a long time in the pit lane as well, Larry. is well, actually not all that long. She was in there for just about 31 seconds, only a couple tenths off of what
Eisler,
Chan
though,
ran.
Very efficient for Eisler down the pit lane and his pit stall. About a second and a half faster than the rest of the LMP2 cars. So very efficient for him, our leader in the race, showing us how it's done even through the pits.
And we would suspect that given the pit times for those drivers, Larry, that most likely they all took a full load of fuel to go to their second pit stop there, or maybe it was just dumb luck that they're all on the same strategy. As Eisler makes his way now through Oak Tree, and if we take a look, and we haven't checked in lately.
By the way, I think Lavender may be out of this race.
Let's take a look, and he has not. Well, let's see here. I don't show him. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't show him as on track.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Again, probably due to that accident we just saw there in the pit lane, but he has since disconnected, and the car has not come back out. So that puts Arthur Chan solidly in second spot. Chris Thorman, who is, I believe, yet to stop, currently in third. And then, of course, Jennifer McDonald in the fourth spot. She has taken her stop. So that's your four running cars there in LMP2. And then you've, of course, got your leader in the GT3 Pros, Tony Kernan, still leading Evan Peichel as Chris Thorman makes his way down pit lane.
And he's our final LMP2 car to head into the pits. And Larry, I was just taking a look at the point standings. Of course, Eisler, who's leading our race, was our points leader in LMP2 coming into the evening. But Caleb Lavender, with 140 points coming in, was second. And that should now drop him back into, he would finish fifth. And with fifth place points, certainly that's going to drop him further back from Eisler. But that may move Arthur Chan. We'll have to take a look. Chan was 9 points back coming into the evening, so it's going to be very close between those two drivers. It may only be a 1 point swing or so between those two drivers after tonight. We'll have to take a look at that as the night goes on.
For sure, there's
Julian Bell, who is our GT3 AM leader, or was our GT3 AM leader in the pits, taking on fuel. That's going to move Steve Daniel, the number 96 Ferrari, up into the GT3 AM lead. And Bell was, I believe, the first of our AM drivers to take a pit stop. Now let's take a look here. Looks like we've got a replay of Julian Bell, and this might have led to his early pit stop, Larry.
Yes,
that would.
It may have.
That certainly would do it. As he went off.
You know what he was doing? He was looking for Son of Oak Tree, which I'm hearing is planted right in about that area, but he couldn't quite see it, so he decided to head to the pits for his stop. But unfortunately, he hit that wall pretty hard looking for that little tree. Yeah,
so that is unfortunate. That moves Steve Daniel now up into the lead in GT3 AM.
You don't know what I'm talking about. That oak tree is no longer there if you go to VIR, but they've taken a sapling from the original tree and planted it just on the outside of the rail there, somewhere back there, I'm told, in that corner.
Yeah, but he would have had to get past the tire wall, Larry.
He tried.
All right, so Steve Daniel, who we mentioned, has not had a win yet this season, is currently your leader in GT3 AM. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it for him there. But the 96 Ferrari now with an advantage of almost 25 seconds over Eduardo Lorente. I believe that's the advantage there. Yeah, about 24 seconds over Lorente. Lorente also driving his Ferrari. He's currently your leader in the points in GT3 AM and that Courage Motorsports entry. And he should be able to maintain the points lead here if he can keep that car even in second. He's got a 10-point advantage right now over Steve Daniel.
Yeah, well, this is that GT3 AM class is a tight one, as we talked about. Lorente in the lead, Daniel, Bell, Bobby Childs is in that mix. And, of course, Russ Ruddock down there. We saw Ruddock already with his issues. Now Julian Bell with his issues. So this may be turning into a two-horse race as this race develops tonight.
And we had seen earlier how the LMP2 traffic had separated Tony Kernan and Evan Peichel, but Peichel and still running very similar lap times to our leader Kernan, but he's closed things up just a little bit from the last time we saw him. Gap now about 3.5 seconds back, but I'll tell you, not all that far back. Also, Travis Schwenke in the Orion Porsche, the number 16 car, he's only about 2.5 seconds back from our second place runner, Evan Peichel.
He's having a solid night tonight. This is what we talked about. This is what he needed, was a nice, solid podium finish. He's halfway there. He's got to continue this drive tonight, and maybe luck will come this way. We're only halfway point. Still, there's a lot of racing to happen, but he can see both the leaders in his class out in front of him, and that's always a good thing in a long race like this.
All right, well, Larry, now that we're just about 40 minutes into this 75-minute race, a little bit over halfway, tell you what, why don't we take a quick break? Going to thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll run all the way to the end of tonight's race. So you are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, round number 6 from Virginia International Raceway, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we're back here at Virginia International Raceway, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. It's round number 6. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, before we pick up more on the action here, and we've got a great run here by Christian Eisler, really starting to cement that lead. Wanted to remind everybody, if you like what you see here tonight, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button on YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV's YouTube channel. Click on that notification bell and you'll find out about all the great virtual motorsports action that we have happening around the world, seemingly 24/7 on the channel. You'll be glad you did. And of course, you can find Apex Racing TV on all the major social media channels. Go to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, and just search for Apex Racing TV, all one word, to find out all about all the great things that we have in store for you around the internet. All right, so Larry, as we take a look here and we're on board with Christian Eisler, it sounds like and it looks like Caleb Lavender, after that incident on the pit lane, didn't it just do a little bit of damage to that LMP2 car? We got word that it was going to take over 5 hours of repairs, so doesn't look like the 333 car is going to be rejoining the action anytime soon.
No, unfortunately not, but it's leaving us a pretty good race out in the front, though. You know, in front of a couple of classes here in GT3, as we can kind of pay our attention there, as I think Eisler's kind of just cruising at this point, watching his gaps. But over in GT3, I think it's still going to be tight. We've still got our top 3 runners yet to stop, and that's going to be interesting, with Tony Kernan still leading the way there. He's now opened up about 7 seconds on Schwenke and Peichel.
Well, yeah, and actually, here's a story, Larry. When we went to break, Evan Peichel in that 263 Geodesic Alpine Stars entry was running second. He was about 2.5 seconds back from Kernan. Schwenke about another 2.5 seconds back from there, and hasn't taken a pit stop. But Travis Schwenke is your new second place runner, and you can see there Schwenke's got the number 16 car, about 3.5 seconds up from Peichel.
Yeah, so Peichel now has got a lot more work to do, but we'll see how these pit stops shake out with all three of these guys before they still have to come in, as we're getting close.
All right, tell you what, it looks like our great friends in the production booth there might have some information on what happened to Evan Peichel.
It's the grass of the oak tree.
Oh, yeah, that's the second, and Larry, we were talking about how strong Peichel's car looked on those slow corners coming out of Oak Tree, and was comparing him to Andre Saunders, who spun his BMW there in the very same place just a couple laps into the race there, but that was enough to allow Travis Schwenke in that number 16 Orion Racing Porsche to get by and take over second place. And so, again, about 3.5 seconds separating Schwenke from Peichel, and actually now about 8 seconds separating Tony Kernan, our leader in the number 7 Kernan Motorsports Porsche, and Travis Schwenke.
Yeah.
So
Kernan is just flat out fast tonight. I gotta say, he's been consistent. He's been fast. Look at his last lap time by is a 46.0. Behind him, Peichel a 46.3, Schwenke a 46.4. There you go. There's the graphic. Kernan is just fast right now, and nobody seems to have his pace. So I don't want to say he can put it cruise control, but he can certainly just hit his marks, turn his mirrors down, and do his thing for the next 30 minutes or so, assuming his pit stop goes cleanly, which should be coming up soon. We'll kind of keep our eye for him and see if he waits until he has an LMP2 in his rear before he does it, or if he just comes in on his own accord.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. We expected that the GT3 cars could probably make it about 27 laps on fuel, and right now it looks like I'm trying to see. Yeah, we're right around 26, 27 laps.
Right about now, as there's Kernan right behind him is Schwenke. We'll see if that BMW behind them both.
No,
also
looks like Evan Peichel is going to stay out, try to make ground up on track here, as Christian Eisler, our overall leader, just got by the 263 BMW, and we'll see if Peichel can now just put his head down and turn some fast laps. He'd been all by himself on track for a number of laps, didn't have the benefit of a draft, and so I don't know how much better it's going to be here, but we'll see what happens when we work through these pit cycles. Now, other interesting thing to note here, Larry, before we went to break, we had noted that Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 machine, and there's Julian, had spun from the lead in GT3 AM and took the car immediately down into the pits, was our first driver in class to head to the pit lane. He's rejoined, and he has retaken the lead in GT3 AM from Steve Daniel.
I can't believe there is barely any noticeable damage on that car. A little wrinkle maybe on that left front, but that car looks no worse for the wear. He's still out there running 47s. I mean, he's not doing the 46s or 46.0, 45.9 that we had seen Tony Kernan running, but it's fast enough to get himself back out in front of Steve Daniel and Eduardo Lorente. So for Julian Bell, maybe kind of dodged a bullet there, off looking for Son of Oak Tree. I'm convinced that's what he was doing. I'm not
going to doubt you. Just keep going with it. And in 5 years, when that tree is actually noticeable on iRacing,
yes, exactly.
We'll look back on this day and
say, look, Julian, there it is.
That's right.
Well, he's Canadian. I don't know that he's been down to VIR. So maybe he needs to make his next stop when he comes across.
As he runs a little wide there, coming out of Snake. Yeah, maybe he's been looking for maple trees up at CTMP or something. I don't know. All right, now there you go, Evan Peichel. 1 lap later, he is now into the pits. Manages to avoid any cars that may be parked vicariously there. Matter of fact, it looks like he is the only driver on the pit lane right now, the number 263 Geodesic Racing entry. We'll have to see where Tony Kernan and Travis Schwenke are. And there's Tony Kernan now making his way around that little bend on the front straight. And as Peichel goes to rejoin, and it looks like Peichel might make his way out ahead of Schwenke. Let's take a look. Here comes Travis Schwenke.
Wow, that's close.
Oh,
doesn't
yes,
have the momentum
it is.
to hold it, but certainly I'm looking at his pit times. Oh no, and Swanky goes deep into one.
And he runs off into the grass, and I can tell you, because I've spent some time there, it is difficult to get the car back out on track.
It runs downhill. It doesn't look like it here, but
yes,
it is all downhill.
It all went downhill very quickly for him here. So Evan Peichel now retakes second position in GT3 Pro from Travis Schwenke. And I was going to say, Larry, that that Peichel in that pit exchange had picked up about 3 seconds on Schwenke, but now he has almost a 7-second advantage over the number 16 Porsche. But all the while.
Well, let's say he picked up not only 2 or 3 seconds on Schwenke, which put him in that position to be there, and Schwenke maybe just misjudged his breaking point. But he also picked up 2 seconds or so on this man, Tony Kernan, the leader of the GT3s. Now, he's still going to end up being about 8 seconds back, but, stranger things have happened. So he's got to do everything he can, as Peichel, but I don't know if he's got the pace to keep up with Kernan tonight, but if he can, now's the time to put it into the, hammer time, so to speak, and try to lay down them laps and see if he can catch up to this fast Porsche tonight.
And we'll see here. Saw probably one of the very first little slip-ups that we saw from Peichel. Not that it was much of one, probably not Peichel from Kernan that we had seen, was he dropped the wheel on the exit of Oak Tree. No big deal there. Maybe lost a little bit of exit speed, but nothing major. But we'll see here if that big BMW can start to whittle away the lead of Tony Kernan as we jump back to our overall leader, Christian Eisler, who continues to stretch things out, but actually he's got about a 4.5, maybe a little bit less than a 5-second advantage now over Arthur Chan. I think Chan has managed to pick up a little bit of ground. That last time by, Chan was about 3/4 of a second faster than Christian Eisler, but again, Eisler has got a little bit of time to give here. And might be concerned about maybe a little concerned about fuel on the run to his second pit stop. Maybe doing a little bit of fuel savings with the margin that he has.
He might be doing a little bit of that, or just being a little bit conservative in some spots and not push any risks, knowing he does have that 4 or 5 second buffer back to Arthur Chan. So, but now he's got to watch traffic. It looks like he just caught Steve Daniel in one.
And there you go as they come out of 1 through 2 and head over to turn 3 there. Christian Eisler did indeed come up on the Ferrari, the 96 machine of Steve Daniel, and got by fairly easily. We'll have to see where Arthur Chan comes up on that bronze-colored car as they now starting to make their way down the snake. Looks like he's
somewhere around South Bend or sooner.
Looks like, let's see if he's going to get through going up into the S's. Indeed, he does. And Steve Daniel looks like he may have let out of the throttle just a little bit to let the 50 car by.
Nice of him to do that, so not to interrupt what's going on with Arthur's race and let Arthur try and chase down Christian out in front.
That looked just so smooth.
Yeah. Very smooth in that very long LMP2 car. Arthur Chan just beautifully around the oak tree and on down Madison Avenue. And you can see this is a great vantage point on board here. You just cannot see the corner when you're braking. You see treetops, and then you just have to brake knowing it's there somewhere and turn in knowing it's there somewhere and then look for the curbs. It's just an amazing view. And then all of this through Hog Pen, just holding the car. It wants to slide out. That grass, if you do, goes down a couple stories.
Yes, it does. Yeah, as you come through, and it's kind of hard here, Larry, because the camera view, even the onboard view that we see there, it doesn't really portray how that track is cambered, and specifically coming through Hog Pen, very heavily off camber. That if you don't get yourself in the groove, and obviously the LMP2 cars, they've got a nice aero advantage going through there, but with some of these cars, depending on when you drop it into the corner there, lots of opportunity for the rear end either to step out a little bit or even get into a four-wheel drift going through there and just end up in the grass.
We got a good look here at Tony Kernan, the leader still in the GT3 Pro. His margin just under 8 seconds to Evan Peichel. Though still running some good, clean 46 seconds laps here as he comes down roller coaster. And again, one of those gorgeous views here at VIR, and Paul Lindland is right. This place is just having the way these corners just lay out in front of you, plummeting down these S's through that roller coaster, round hog pen, and then down this front straight that just the beautiful trees in the background. It's just a gorgeous place.
And for the second lap in a row, Evan Peichel, he's picked up a little bit of ground on Tony Kernan, knocking a couple tenths off here, a couple tenths there. That last time by was about 0.4 of a second faster than the number 7 Porsche, but still quite a ways back. Still, as Larry said, just a little bit under 8 seconds in arrears.
And Tony's got to know that. He's got to know that he just needs to bring it home clean at this point and put
Yeah.
the pressure on Evan to make the move. And that's going to be great. You go back to what we talked about at the beginning about the points championships. We talked a little bit about GT3 AM, but in the GT3 Pro, it has been Evan Peichel leading the way by about 8 points over Tony. And Tony definitely could use this strong finish tonight with a victory. Would probably move him, probably cut that about in half before we get into round 7 next time out.
Yeah, there's
this would be huge.
35 points for the winner, 32 for second. So we'll get him 3 points closer.
And leading laps for his class
Will be
Tony
another
would have led
bonus
all
point.
the laps, and not any points there for Evan. So it could take that 8-point lead and cut it right down in half. Depends on drops, of course, as things go along. As I look around here, at
And another point for qualifying on pole. So
Absolutely.
make it 5 points now.
Now on Evan's side, when we get into the second drop of the season, he does have a third place back at Belle Isle that he could be dropping, other than he's sitting on all first and second. So these two may come down to bonus points and poles and all the other things as the season lays out between Tony and Evan. This is going to be a tight finish to the end. But tonight's exactly what Tony still needs, as he's still got about 20 minutes left to finish out. So he can't blink yet. Love the graphics he's got in that car now.
Yeah, very, very pretty car.
I love these as well here on Julian Bell's car.
I was to say, just as pretty is the graphic pattern there of Julian Bell's number 52 machine.
Andre Saunders is in the pits.
Now, let's take a look here.
He is.
Here he comes.
You know, he was in earlier. He may have been in earlier for maybe one of his impacts, so maybe he's in now to actually take a fuel stop.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Larry, that if I was designing a livery, it would probably be like cartoon stick figures on the side of the car. that's about the limit of my artistic endeavors here. But yeah, as now Andre Saunders has just left the pits, he's going to be rejoining in 4th place in GT3 Pro.
Yeah, not too far behind Steve Daniel, who he's already had to get by at least once or twice tonight. He's going to have to do it again if he wants to make up any positions, get any closer to Schwenke. Because right now the top 3 in GT3 Pro are moving along pretty fast with Kernan, Peichel, and Schwenke. Saunders is a very, very distant, probably a minute and a half back. And you can see that these two, Steve Daniel and Andre Saunders, they're in that shot down the snake.
Yeah, and Carl maybe got a little unsettled there going into the S's. Gets it back under control there. As we're almost an hour into the 75-minute race. Again, to keep track, we keep talking about the GT3 Pros and the GT3 AMs. The GT3 Pros, they've got the red mirrors, the red number boards, and the red windshield banners, as our leader in GT3 Pro, Tony Kernan, does right there. And you'll see the red position numbers on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Our GT3 AM drivers, they don't have red, they've got green, as Julian Bell, who's our GT3 AM driver, does right there. And I don't think I need to tell you what color the LMP2 cars are running, because it's pretty easy to pick them out of a field.
Yes, it is. They definitely jump, don't they? There they are with the blue mirrors and banners and number plates. But yeah, they are very distinct look in all of iRacing. You don't see anything else like them.
And Chris Neisler having what I think we would consider now to be a fairly quiet portion of the race here. Earlier on, under a lot of pressure from both Arthur Chan and also from Caleb Lavender, but with Lavender's retirement and Chan falling back a little bit, Eisler now with almost an 8-second buffer back to the rest of the LMP2 field. So just needs to put his head down, put in some laps. He should be coming in for a second pit stop. I'd say probably in the next.
Could be soon. They stopped right about that 30-minute mark, and here we are at the 60.
Yeah, right at about the 60-minute mark. So yeah, should be here in just a minute with a splash of gas to make that last 15-minute run.
And we'll see if he can make it a clean stop, as Arthur's about 7 seconds back. And Jennifer's been pretty solid tonight. No real issues there. She's currently running lap times in that mid-135s, currently third in this field.
Yeah, and we heard as we talked to Jennifer prior to the race, she was looking to keep similar lap times to what Arthur has been running, and she's been running within 1 to 2 tenths of a second pretty consistently over the course of the entire race here. And as you said, it's just run a quiet, consistent race.
I just love these onboards. I love the view, driver's hands, just trying to rotate that car perfectly with minimal amount of catching involved. And I've run a few laps in these LMP2s, different tracks, and they are a joy to drive with the right setup. And I suspect right now Christian Eisler's got himself a good, solid setup under him. You see him lay on the brakes, car rotates for him nice and gently, and he can go back on the gas with full beams.
Not a lot of corrections there. Just
no. Look at that, using all the curbs.
Yeah, just rocks it from one side to the other.
Very, very solid there. He's going to make his way under the Ferrari there. Was that
that was Lorente?
Yeah. These two guys leading their each in their own classes, leading their points championships. But for Eisler, probably going to maintain that position. For Lorente, he's got a fight on his hands. And Julian Bell and Steve Daniel there in the AM class.
And we're back on board with Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 machine, currently your leader. And he should be good to go on fuel to the end of the race here. As our GT3 cars, we anticipate that they'd probably only need a single stop for fuel. Most of them did not take any tires. Just has to manage the equipment and bring it home, as we're now about 13 minutes remaining. Ooh, well. And we've already seen Julian Bell go off once. Don't want to jinx it again, but you run down through that section. They call it the roller coaster for a reason, Larry. Lots of, besides the elevation changes, lots of changes in direction as well. And again, it rewards smoothness through there.
Does it make me motion sick too, like real roller coasters do?
We'll have to get you on. We'll have to get you on track. I'll tell you, I get more motion sick in iRacing going down through there than I do in a real race car. But
yes, you do, and sad to say, but yes, yes, folks. Greg Ginsburg gets motion sickness from his iRacing rig.
Yeah. Oh well.
And that's still just a single screen setup. You're not even on VR, are you?
No, just a single screen. And I found something out last night, Larry. I take Dramamine when I do iRacing. I still get lightheaded if I have to put the car in reverse. I don't know why. it's all right. Oh, look at this! We've got Travis Schwenke now coming up behind Evan Peichel. This is now the battle for second in GT3 Pro. It's been closing down for the last couple of laps now. Remember that Schwenke had gone off around 7 laps ago at turn number 1 when Evan Peichel had come out and completed his pit stop. But now Peichel's worked his way all the way back, and he's all over the back of that BMW.
Well, what we don't know yet, we've got a replay coming, is what happened to Evan Peichel. So let's check out this replay.
And all right, so here we go.
Oak Tree.
And did he go off again at Oak Tree? Yes, indeed he did, as he went into the grass coming out of. Yeah. Good recovery there.
Very good.
But you can see how much time and how much ground he lost as the 16 Orion Racing entry closed right up onto the back of him as they were going down the back
some rally racing. The way he just controlled that thing in a perfect 4-wheel drift all the way around the outside of Oak Tree Bend and didn't lose any position. Only lost about 6 seconds of track time. But yeah, that was impressive car control, not to lose it and end up outside of the wall or inside into the oak tree itself.
Well, we talked early on about how stable that car looked, Larry. I mean, it looked great through the grass. The problem is it didn't look so hot on the pavement going into Oak Tree for the second time this evening. And here we go for his second stop of the evening is Arthur Chan. He's going to take a splash of fuel to get him to the end. He needs enough to make about 11 minutes here. And Jennifer McDonald is going to follow him down the pit lane in the number 99 machine.
I believe Chan and McDonald both were stopping one lap later than Chris and Eisler, but here they're stopping
a lap earlier.
Eisler,
or maybe more than a lap, but we would expect that Eisler would probably be coming in the next minute or so. Eisler was I think the first of our drivers. He and Lavender came down at the same time,
right at that 30-minute mark.
Of course, he's had enough of a buffer to really work on some fuel saving here. So we'll see now as both Chan and McDonald have rejoined. And look at this. How many times have we seen this tonight, Larry?
Yes. Stop me if you've heard this before. Saunders trying to get around Steve Daniel. I believe this is the third time tonight. Saunders has the raw speed. He just has made a couple of those mistakes, run some wide spots, and of course then took that late pit stop. Now, once again, he's got to get around the 96 Ferrari of Steve Daniel. Yeah,
and Steve Daniel must think it's Groundhog Day or something here, going through the roller coaster. Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't look like Saunders was expecting that little brake check. And oh, look at this! Here we go, as Travis Schwenke has gotten around Evan Peichel to take over second. And let's take a look. I think we've got a replay here of the pass for second.
There they are going through NASCAR Bend, and again running wide as Peichel. Same thing he did at Oak Tree. He's really struggled to keep it on the pavement now here late in the race. I'm wondering if those tires are starting to really go in that BMW.
Yeah, and we talked early on how stable that car looked, how much grip he had compared to some of the Porsches, and maybe he's just run the tires off to the point of no return here, Larry, as he's having a lot of trouble keeping that BMW on the black and white stuff.
Well, the other BMW in the field, Andre Saunders, has made his way around Steve Daniels. We're seeing them now on the screen now, but I think you're right. I think the grip seems to have changed now for Evan Peichel, and that's really hurt him. Great opportunity there for Travis Schwenke to move up into that second spot and get around him. We'll see if he's able to hold that position, because he and Tony Kernan would love to get strong finishes here tonight.
You see that little wiggle from Saunders as he came through South Bend there, Larry. For the moment there, saw him pointing towards the tire wall and gathered it back up, but looked awfully precarious there for a moment for the 72 machine.
It's a tough night to be in a BMW, I got to tell you that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it might be a tough night to be in a Porsche also, as Schwenke now trying to hold on against Peichel as they come through turn 3 and go in the left hook. The rear end of that Porsche starting to get a little loose as well on the 16 machine. I think it's going to be a question.
I'm thinking, you look at time of day in the sim, is afternoon.
Yeah, temps are dropping.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the temps are dropping a little bit. Hey, there's the graphic on the screen. Because I'm wondering if that's what's happening here. You lose a little bit of track grip by a lower temperature as the cloud covers come over, and
combine that with an hour plus on track on these tires. Ooh, and you can see there that the Porsche there, the 16 of Schwenke on entrance to Oak Tree, rear end stepped out on him just a little bit, maybe got a little bit crossed up, maybe lost a little bit of ground in it. It looks like Peichel got a better run out of Oak Tree, but yeah, could be certainly affecting both of these drivers here, and just as I thought that might be affecting Tony Kernan and Julian Bell just a little bit as well. The difference is those two drivers have pretty substantial margins at the moment.
Yeah. As we are on board now with Schwenke, going down bottom of the roller coaster and around the hog pen. Just watch that Porsche, just the rear end squirts a little bit and just plants, and off he goes, just like a rocket. He's still rubbing the grass there around the kink on the front straightaway, so he wants this. He doesn't want to take any chances that maybe that BMW behind him will get a good lap in and be able to catch him. Travis still pushing hard.
Yeah, Peichel made up a couple car lengths there under braking, but you could see he almost immediately lost it on exit as, again, the slower corners, definitely the forte of the Porsche, or at least exited of the slower corners, the forte of the Porsche. But I think Peichel pushing the braking zones a little bit, not able to get back onto the throttle as early as the Porsche also.
Yeah, whereas earlier in the race, I think he was, and I think you're right about that grip change. That he doesn't seem to be able to do it now as well now as he was in the first 20 minutes of the race.
All right, and we have now just about 10 minutes, or probably 5 minutes remaining in this 15-minute race, in this 75-minute race. In LMP2, Christian Eisler is your leader, Arthur Chan second, Jennifer McDonald running in third. In GT3 Pro, Tony Kernan, your leader, and we're watching the battle right now between Travis Schwenke and Evan Peichel, the battle for second in class. And in GT3 AM, Julian Bell, your leader, with Steve Daniel and Eduardo Lorente, the two Ferraris, running second and third to the Porsche.
This looks like our battle here to the finish. This battle for second here in this pro ranks. Neither one of these guys have had a perfectly clean night tonight. They've each had their issues, but both of them would love the second place points. I'll tell you that.
And
use it all.
Using all the pavement, and I don't know if he meant to use all the pavement there, but Schwenke on the left-hander, turn 15, you saw the car really go wide there, didn't get the turn in. Might be losing the front tires on that car just a little bit. To go along with the loss of the rear tires as well. But now Peichel certainly making up a little bit of ground here. And you'll notice that Peichel, he opens up some of these corners, I think making up for the fact that he doesn't get good jumps off of braking. That is allowing them to stay in the game here, as both of these drivers are trying to manage what is left of the grip that they have here on course, with now just about 4 minutes remaining. Of course, that's all going to matter on where Eisler is on track.
Yeah, this is definitely getting exciting now, because that's about all we need then, is to have an LMP to come up between the two of them and to mix this up. And I'm sure before the end of this race we're going to see that. But they are definitely fast in different places.
Yes.
You know, you're watching here as Peichel looks pretty strong through this section of the track, but as you mentioned, can't seem to get the power down coming off of these hook turns like this. He was able to get in and get to the apex, but then all of a sudden he goes to the power down, and it's just not there. The Porsche starts to walk, although he did a better job this time.
Yeah, he did. But you know, if you also notice there, and he's done this almost the entire race, certainly not using all the pavement. Typically, you'd want to use some of that gray curbing driver's left on the entrance to Oak Tree, and he's entering almost from the middle of the track, really compromising his entry there, not carrying maybe the speed that he wants. And you know, given how the Porsches can just kind of hunker down and power out, it's you know, kind of a double-edged sword to the chest of Evan Peichel there, as we watch them both make their way now out of the roller coaster. And again, the gap only about a car length and a half, as we now have a little bit less than 3 minutes remaining. And yeah, I think the question, Larry, now is, where is Christian Eisler on track in comparison to these two, and are they going to get another lap?
He's coming. There he is, right down the front straightaway, a couple of corners behind them. He'll be probably on their tail by the time they get to South Bend.
Yeah, so this is, you know, the question of whether or not they might be.
Maybe he won't be, though.
Maybe he won't, as Christian Eisler with the first bobble of the evening, going off track over at turn number 1. And let's see if Arthur Chan, he can close things up a little bit.
He's going to get it down under 3 seconds, that's for sure.
Yeah, so Chan now, who had about an 8-second gap between he and our leader, now you can see only about 1 turn apart. As Eisler tries to gather things back up. Now that's going to give possibly a little bit of breathing room to both of our GT3 drivers here, as we go back to the battle between Schwenke and Peichel. As they come through Oak Tree once again, you know, that they may be able to hold on for maybe and get an extra lap out of this with that bobble from Eisler.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps these guys. Certainly helps, I think, Schwenke, because Schwenke is the one I think that would be worried the most about, you know, losing his positions, where I guess if you're already in third, you know, what's there to lose for that second spot? But Schwenke, he definitely wants to hold on to it. So he's happy to not have that LMP to come whispering here between them here in a little bit. It might be another lap or two before they see. At that point, though, it might be 2 LMPs. It might be
there might be 2 coming through, as Eisler is just at the top of the roller coaster now, just a couple corners back. And
Chan's only 3 seconds back, and there he is.
Yeah, so this should be, though, when he crosses the stripe, Eisler should be getting the white flag. There'll be 1 to go here at Virginia International Raceway. Indeed, the white flag is in the air, and so he will likely get past our 2 GT3 racers, Schwenke and Peichel, which will put them on the very last lap as well. Even though they didn't see the white flag,
right.
You know, I'm sure at this point their spotters will probably let them know that they're on the last lap.
Yes, at that point, it's they would have heard it for sure, because that's how the sim works. Your sim spotter says 1 lap to go as soon as the leader sees that white flag, and that leader is going to go right on by him under the bridge. Unless he holds up.
Well, ooh, and he gets held up just a little bit by the 2 GT3 leaders. That might give Arthur Chan a little bit of an advantage.
Chan is closing quickly as he's down to about 1 second back. We have a race on our hands for the overall lead.
All right, and here they come as our leaders, and there you go, Arthur Chan right onto the back of Christian Eisler now coming out of Oak Tree. Chan runs wide, though, as both of our LMP2 drivers need to make their way past this battle for second in GT3 Pro, and Eisler makes it by. Chan still having a little trouble getting by now as they head up into the top of the roller coaster, turn 14. So we've got 2 battles for position, 2 battles on a podium here as we enter the final corners here from Virginia International Raceway, and Arthur Chan once again getting loose, and that is going to give a little bit of an advantage to Christian Eisler as he comes out of the final corner, turn 14, onto the front straight, and after 75 minutes, taking the win here at Virginia International Raceway is going to be Christian Eisler. Arthur Chan, he's going to finish second. If we jump back, this is the battle for second in GT3 Pro. Travis Schwenke will hold off Evan Peichel to finish second. Tony Kernan took the win in the number 7 Kernan Motorsports entry. It's a great run there, and here comes Julian Bell down the roller coaster. He's got just a couple more corners, and if he holds on, he will take the win tonight in GT3 AM. And he's gonna put a little scare in us, but gathers the car back up at the exit of Hogpen, and Julian Bell will take the win. All right, then let's take a look here. We're still waiting on Daniels and Saunders, who were running second and third.
Saunders, by the way, Saunders actually is in the pro ranks. Daniel in the AM rank.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Saunders had fallen once again behind Daniel as he's a couple seconds back. We won't see them together at the checker. There is Steve Daniel. He's just taken checker.
There you go. So Steve Daniel, he finishes second tonight in GT3 AM. Saunders, who just crosses the stripe, he's going to finish off the podium fourth in GT3 Pro. Tony Kernan, still waiting for him to come across, but he should take the win in GT3 Pro as he now makes his way down through the roller coaster. Jennifer McDonald and Chris Thorman both cross the stripe. Jennifer McDonald, she's going to take home the last step on the podium in LMP2. She finishes third tonight in her BTL Motorsports entry. I think that was one of her goals this evening, was to finish on the podium, as we spoke to her this evening before tonight's race, and I want to thank her once again for that. But that should run down the whole field here. So tell you what, Larry, why don't we go? We're going to take a final break. When we come back, we'll recap the finishing order here for each of our 3 classes, and then we'll interview some of our winners. You have just seen round number 6 of the Ricmotech World Challenge live from Virginia International Raceway, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Virginia International Raceway. You've just seen round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. And let's go and run down the finish here. Again, taking the overall win in the Punto Cielo Racing LMP2 entry was Christian Eisler. And I'll tell you, Arthur Chaney made it really interesting at the end there, pulling right up to the back of Eisler's entry at Oak Tree on the very last lap. Margin of victory for Eisler, half a second. Jennifer McDonald finishing in 3rd. In GT3 Pro, Tony Kernan finishes a lap up from both Travis Schwenke and Evan Peichel. Great battle for 2nd there to round out the evening. And then in GT3 AM, Julian Bell and his Graphite Racing Machine takes the win over Steve Daniel, with Eduardo Lorente in the Courage Motorsports Ferrari finishing in 3rd. So Larry, I'm looking to see who we can pull in here to interview. I will tell you, it's probably going to take a little bit of time for Christian Eisler to make his way to the commentary boxes. We just saw Julian Bell giving him the chrome horn about 3/4 of the way around Virginia International Raceway. It looks like Julian Bell may have ran out of fuel on the very last lap, but it looks like he is now in the green room. So let's bring in.
Julian has made it there, at least from his pushing job.
Exactly. All right, so let's bring in Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 Punto Cielo Racing LMP2 entry.
All right, we're joined with Julian Bell. Julian, by the way, thanks for pushing Eisler for his out of fuel to get him down toward the finish lane. That was nice of you to do, coming off of a victory there in the AM class tonight, but not without a little bit of drama. Walk me through a little bit about your visit to Oak Tree.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to get downgraded to casual drifter instead of King Julian Drifter, whatever you said last time. Yeah, I don't know what happened, to be honest. It kind of happened in slow-mo, one of those things. I was going into it, and I don't know if my crew chief said something or I looked down to see what gear I was in or something, and then just lost my spot, and it was one of those, slow, everything's happening in slow-mo, it's going to happen type things. But
any damage, or I saw you take the early pit stop then. Was that just to check and things, or was there any damage you actually had to fix?
Yeah, there was a meatball that came up, and was worried that was going to end the race for me. But fortunately, it was only 7 seconds of required. So, and I think maybe around like 7 of optional. So, speed was definitely down afterwards, but the pace beforehand was there, and was pretty happy with that. Was hoping I could hang around those guys a little bit longer, but I think they were killing me on the straights. Probably, just poor setup choice for me. I was just going with the iRacing baseline high horse. Felt good, but probably could have done a bit better. And they're fast anyways, so eventually probably would have left me behind. So
well, you definitely hung with them for quite a while. You and Schwenke were there running in that. I guess it would have been at that point 3rd and 4th overall in that group, and it looked like you were making a pretty strong push to stick with them. But as you say, the setup just a little bit different. They were kind of pulling you off of the corners a little bit, or off down the straightaways.
Yeah, especially Oak Tree. As soon, I'd get right up onto Travis's bumper, but he typically got a good drop, and he'd easily gain 2, sometimes 3 tenths straight. I was able to get it the first sector, I guess you could say, in Oak Tree, fast left hand heading into Oak Tree, and was hoping that I could hang and not really burn through my front tires. I was hoping that this was going to force to chew through his a little bit. After that off, kind of just settled into mode,
Yeah. Well, you definitely got into a good rhythm, and with a little bit of the incident there, a little bit of luck, not too much damage, and able to bring this thing home for another victory of the season. And really, this is tightening up the AM class points. I don't have the update yet, but I'm thinking that you and Eduardo and Steve are all going to be right there on top of each other on points here going into the last couple rounds. So you're going to be putting a lot of practice time this week, getting ready for, I guess it's Daytona we're coming up on next, aren't we?
Oh, nice. So I haven't looked at the remaining schedule in a while.
Daytona, then Sebring.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. top speed differences at Daytona, and how it affect the cars. I'm not if the long or not with that. So that's great. Sebring's always tough, and I think it's a good challenge for everybody. So keep working on it. I'd like to be able to, throw some punches with those guys up at the front a little bit more. So, might put in a little bit more practice,
For sure.
and we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck. Get some practice in, and we will definitely be looking for you in a couple of weeks out at Daytona. So congrats on the win tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Julian Bell, our winner tonight in GT3 AM driver, the number 52 graphite racing machine. Everything I said earlier about Punto Cielo Racing, yeah, forget all that. All right, so Larry, why don't we bring in now Arthur Chan finishing second tonight in the Axon Driving Solutions number 50 LMP2 car.
All right. Arthur Chan joining us now after coming in a very close second at what had to be one heck of an ups and downs emotional swing sort of night. Arthur, walk me through a little bit of your night.
Hey, Larry. Well, nice to chat with you guys again. It's been a while, which kind of says something about how challenging the season has been compared to last year.
It definitely has been.
Yeah, well, I was messaging with Jennifer before the race that I just got to keep it on the track. People are going to make mistakes, and maybe the traffic will help give us a chance at least to keep up with Caleb and Eisler. And it turned out that way. The first time we came around to the GT3s, because they're so packed up, it took so long for us to get through. I think it was good to see that from what I saw anyways, none of us took any crazy moves on the GT3s. We kind of took our time, and there were a couple of times I think we lifted for each other, just knowing we just needed to get through the traffic. Lap went pretty well. I was actually contemplating short fueling like I did at the last event I was at to get the lap led, but I think with 2 laps of fuel left, Eisler and Lavender just pulled off in front of me, so that got me the fastest lap, so I could basically run the 2 full tanks strategy and then the small ladder tank. So all that went great. Thanks to a lot of the GT3 drivers who kind of saw how close we were on the track and kind of lifted and let us by. That was great. And I just now saw the replay of what happened with Lavender and Ruddock in the pit lane. That's unbelievable. I've never seen that happen before.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, in what has it been? 12 years of iRacing, I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
And that last time coming out of Oak Tree, I'm feeling a little bit down because I couldn't take advantage of that situation. But I was just so close to Eisler, I didn't realize I was tracking a bit wide and went right off the curb and just lost the chance to get around.
Yeah, all that seemed to come together right as that, 2 laps to go, white flag coming out. Next thing you know, Eisler's off in 1, giving you a chance to kind of really crawl right back into this. And then all of a sudden you guys start catching up to the 2nd and 3rd place runners who are fighting for position there in the Pro and GT3. Yeah, it did look like you just couldn't really pick a spot to get on the gas, kind of looking for a spot there as Eisler had learned his lesson earlier in the race with some of that GT3 traffic when you and Lavender, of course, came up on him so quickly the first time through the field. I think he learned how to use them to his advantage a little better as the race went on.
Well, my long-term strategy worked, which is to let him gain a second a lap on me, which let his guard down, and he probably fell asleep in turn 1 that time. So I'll have to try doing this in a future race too.
Yeah, well, you got to exactly use all that data to your advantage, even if it's next race or the race after. So a great run tonight. It was great to be able to talk to you again, and congrats on the 2nd place finish. This is going to hopefully tighten the points up a little bit. And 2 rounds to go. We got Daytona, which I know is one of your favorites, and then, of course, we'll be at Sebring then for the finale. So looking forward to seeing you in the next couple rounds there.
Thank you very much, Larry.
All right. Thanks, Arthur.
All right, there you go. Arthur Chan, driver of the number 50 Axon Driving Solutions LMP2 car, where I think I'm just going to start calling him the Sandman now, Larry, as he tries to put his competitors to sleep. All right, so let's bring in now Travis Schwenke, driver of the number 16 Orion Racing Porsche, taking 2nd place tonight in GT3 Pro.
Hey, Travis Schwenke joining us, finishing 2nd tonight in GT3 Pro. Travis, throughout the whole race, 70-some minutes going by, and you and Evan had quite a battle winding down those last couple laps. Walk me through some of that.
Yeah, I think there was a squirrel or a turtle or something on the outside of turn one as he came out of the pits, and I just missed my braking point. And I was actually in a channel with him, and I said, "Oh no!" as soon as I realized I was, probably 150 feet too deep on the brake. So at that point, I was just trying to get it slowed down without scrubbing too much and getting it sideways, and I still touched the grass on the outside.
Well,
And
and
then
then he has his own issue at Oak Tree a couple
yeah,
laps later.
exactly. That he had the issue back at Oak Tree, and I got back around him, and then it was kind of a battle from there. He was a little concerned on fuel. I was okay on fuel, so um, then the P1s went by, so it was okay. But yeah, it's good racing with them. It was unfortunate we couldn't do that the whole race. When he had that early spin at Oak Tree, that one kind of separated because the three of us were kind of slowly coming back together again, and that's when he had that. I had to really check up to not hit him and make sure I picked the side that was going to be safe. So.
Yeah, and ended up getting you a good second place finish tonight. And looking at these points, it's really starting to tighten things up a little bit. Definitely the finish. You definitely needed to finish ahead of him tonight to have any chance going into the last couple rounds.
Yeah, I needed to finish.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Finish first, and first finish, and then try and finish first. But certainly getting the second place and getting the staying ahead of Evan certainly helps your cause here late in the season. So. Congrats on that, on the second place, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing how this GT3 Pro pans out the next couple rounds.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, there you go. Travis Schwenke, driver of the 16 Orion Racing Porsche, finishing second tonight in GT3 Pro. And with that, Larry, let's bring in Tony Kernan, driver of the number 7 Kernan Motorsports Porsche. He was our winner tonight in GT3 Pro.
All right, Tony Kernan, winner in GT3 Pro. And Tony, congrats on starting this race from pole position, and then congrats on the win. Did anything go wrong for you? As everyone else is talking about visiting the grass, I didn't see you out there at all tonight.
I think I had 3 incidents. A couple of them were just barely getting off track, but about 15 minutes in or so, I did kind of I had a close one. I did go all the way off in the grass, but I was able to collect it up. But other than that, it was a smooth race for me.
Oh, that's right, you did. You had a South Bend excursion there and able to hold on to it early in this race, but didn't seem to hurt too much there. And honestly, that's about the only thing we saw tonight. Really, nearly a flawless race, and everybody behind you, various offs and excursions, whether they're turn 1 or Oak Tree, and you managed to keep this going. And I don't know if you've seen the points updates yet or not, but there is a driver in first in car number 7 with now an overall lead by 1 point over
sweet.
the 263 of Evan Peichels. Tony, congrats on both. Nice, so you got the win tonight and now leading the points 5-6 rounds in here. So
nice.
Yeah,
I didn't know that yet. Cool.
Yeah, so they are up to date. So is this going to motivate you more then to just put in all the laps and get ready for Daytona in a couple weeks?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
So tonight, did the Porsche just seem like the right platform? I know things kind of came together for you, jumping on that pole position and then right from the go, just taking off. Porsche just a good car for you tonight?
It was. Actually, I was kind of, because I drove the BMW earlier in the week just to see how it drove on the track, and I actually kind of felt better in it, and I put in a bunch of time in the Porsche. But yeah, I felt really confident. I had a good setup, I think, way better than I did a couple weeks ago at the Glen. I was struggling at the Glen for some reason.
Yeah, well, certainly your confidence in the car and everything showed tonight by bringing it home a victory. Really just solid performance tonight and able to pull away for the rest of the field there. So for that victory, anybody you want to thank for this performance?
Yeah, just Extreme, you guys, for a great program. It's a good time.
Well, thank you and appreciate the nice words. And again, congrats. Just a great race for you tonight and a great victory. And can't wait to see how this season's going to wind up now. Just a 1 point separating you from Evan. This is awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, there you go. Tony Kernan, driver of the number 7 Kernan Motorsports Porsche, tonight's winner in GT3 Pro. And Larry kind of stole my thunder there, but we've got the points updated. If you want to go to extrememotorsports99.com, you can see the latest points. And as you said, only a single point separating Tony Kernan and Evan Peichel at the top of GT3 Pro. In LMP2, we've got Caleb Lavender and Arthur Chan tied for second, back behind Christian Eisler. Although Eisler, of course, opened up his lead just a little bit more tonight, and more tight running in GT3 AM. Eduardo Lorente managing to hold on to that margin and sit atop the points there with the Graphite Racing Porsche of Julian Bell, who took the win tonight, and Steve Daniel and his SKKJ Racing Ferrari now tied for second. So things are very, very tight here across all three of our classes here in the Ricmotech World Challenge.
Don't miss the next round in a couple weeks. When is that next round, Greg?
Well, let's talk about that, Larry, because let's run down the events that we have coming up in our different Ricmotech series. Next week is going to be the finale of Season 1 of the Lamborghini Trophy Series. 2 30-minute races at Sebring International Raceway with an inverted field for race number 2. It's been an amazing series so far. And of course, we're going to be giving away 1 free entry for free laps around Las Vegas Motor Speedway in a real Lamborghini Huracan. So you definitely do not, pardon me, not a Lamborghini Huracan, a Lamborghini Gallardo. So you definitely don't want to miss that. It's all going to be on the line next Monday night at 8 p.m. In 2 weeks, the Ricmotech World Challenge returns. We're going to be at Daytona International Speedway, another 75-minute race to the checker for our LMP2 and GT3 cars. And now we can announce it, Larry, for season number 20 of the Classic Sprint Series, going to be kicking off January 10th at Daytona International Speedway, and I'm definitely looking forward to the Classic Sprint Series. Those are our MX-5 drivers and racers. They're going to be going to Mount Panorama this season, so we're going to have our hands full, as I believe our MX-5 drivers are as well. So again, those are Monday nights at 8 p.m. Make sure to pencil us into your schedule each and every week. So for Larry McLeod, for Dennis Branch, for Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we want to thank you for joining us. And most of all, for those of you here in the United States, have a happy Thanksgiving this week, and we'll see you next Monday evening.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.